Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the high school. Thank you so much for being here. We do have coffee in the back if you'd like it at any time. So thank you very much for finding your way down to the library. You passed your first test as a high school parent. We are recording this to send out, so if you miss anything, we'll send the slides with it. So don't worry about having to make sure that you get every piece of information. We're going to be sending it out probably tomorrow. We'll have it sent around. So welcome once again. You are in the high school library, and my name is Chris Walsh. I'm the principal here, and I was doing the calculations. Hard to believe this is my 20th year in Byram Hills in the district. The first 7 I was an earth science, physics, environmental science, and astronomy teacher. And I also coached basketball and softball, and I was an astronomy club advisor. And then after that, for 6 years, I was the assistant principal. And now this is, hard to believe, my 7th year as principal here. And I was telling many of you that I am very much like you in that my oldest is going to start high school this year. So I actually had to start following the advice that I give everybody else. And I know from my wife and I, what we're sort of hoping for from my son is just to have a good experience where it doesn't feel overwhelming, it doesn't feel like it's not manageable, and that he can go in there and start it and get a good rhythm down. So. I am a dad too. My first job, I do have 5 children. My oldest, like I said, is starting high school. I have a 7th grader. I have 2 4th graders. And then my youngest finally will be in kindergarten this year. And we're all cheering because we know what that means when you have all your kids in the school. I grew up not too far from here in Paterson, New York. I live in Pauling, and love Byram Hills. And what I think sort of resonates with me about Byram Hills is just you being here today. I don't think any other district does it quite as well as we do in terms of the partnership that we have between the parents, the school, the administration, and the students. There's no other district that I have seen that has everybody all on the same page, really being focused on what is best for our kids. So as we start here today, I wanted to introduce some of my colleagues, or let them introduce themselves. You'll likely be working with them throughout the year. Ben August is going to be the 9th grade assistant principal. He is not here today, but you will see him. You will get very familiar with him. And anytime that there are things that come up with your child, Ben would be sort of the person who would oversee whether it be a medical issue or a disciplinary issue or an academic issue that needs intervention. Ben would be the person that would be able to manage it all. Now, the person behind the scenes, who you'll probably call all the time before you speak to Ben, would be my colleague Kira Hunt.
Hi, good morning everyone. It's nice to see everyone in person. I've been doing some virtual meetings and your kids are a pleasure. So I work with Christina Wilson, who is the chair. She has the beginning of the alphabet from like A to D or E, and then last name, and then I have the rest of the alphabet. So if you're not with me, you're with Christina Wilson. How the counseling department works is your kids will be with us this year, and then we help them transition through to a 10 through 12 counselor for the next 3 years. This is my 5th year working here. It is a pleasure. As Mr. Walsh said, this is a very unique community in the aspect of the involvement with the parents. We view parents as partners here, and your children are wonderful, and I look forward to working with them. My biggest piece of advice or ask is if something comes up, if your parent senses go on, please just pick up the phone, call me, send me an email, and I am always there. That's what I'm here for, is to help you.
And then working with the way that our assistant principals work is they cycle up with our students. So Ben August will have 9th and 11th this year. Next year he'll have 10th and 12th. And then the year after he'll have 9th and 11th. So he will continually move up with your children all the way through 12th grade. Now his counterpart, my colleague, Lauren Albert. Lauren?
Hi everybody, I'm Lauren Albert. So I won't be working with your children on a daily basis or as frequently as you will be working with Mr. August, but I will be responsible for some responsibilities that you might interact with me pretty frequently depending on whatever the issue might be. So I'm responsible for clubs and activities, so if you have any questions about that, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm responsible for driver's ed, which I know you still have a lot of time on, no pressure, but when that comes up, if you have a question, please feel free to contact me. I'm responsible for testing, so regions, AP testing, things like that. So again, anything that comes up, please don't hesitate to reach out.
All right, so their contact information is up here, and I know that you have a million things to do to get ready for our teachers are coming back tomorrow. So you can go and take care of those things.
Nice to meet everybody.
Okay, so my secretary is Lisa Finelli. A lot of times I'm out and about throughout the building. If you have a quick question, you can reach out to her. She monitors email throughout the day. And then the assistant principal secretary is Courtney Bogren. She'll be somebody that you speak to if you need to call into the office as well. We have 2 school psychologists here, Marisa Cuomo. That would be the person that you would reach out to if you're having questions about, well, maybe there's a need for a 504 plan or a health plan. That would be the person to reach out to. She does our mandated counseling as well. And then we have a counselor, a psychologist for our flexible support program. Our flexible support program is a very unique program to Byram Hills, and it's designed to support students who are exhibiting severe school avoidance through stress, anxiety, depression, or something else. And certainly we've seen a ramp up with that, along with the prevalence of cell phones. So since that time, kids have started having cell phones, we see that there's a lot more of school avoidance. So we have a program designed to support those students. We are lucky enough to have a social worker here, Miss Allison Moye, and she does a great job in terms of helping all of our community understand the resources that are available to them. If it's a food scarcity issue, if it's something in terms of needing to get support from government agencies, she will do that. She works with all of our students. There are no kids just on her caseload. Anybody can go into her office and work with her. We also, our school nurse, Miss Jill Drucker, she's back from being at camp over the summer. She's with us now. She's, any questions that you might have in terms of COVID, monkeypox, whatever the latest infectious thing going through is, you can give her a call. If it's about testing or anything like that, vaccinations, physicals, she's the one you can give a call to. All right, and the person you'll probably speak to the most is Miss Tammy Lavecchio. She's the person in the attendance office who will make sure that she's getting all of your calls, any notes that you're sending, and will update our systems so that we know whether a student is absent or being picked up. Now, that's her direct email, but you could also email this. This is just a general box for anybody that, if Tammy's out, we can look and make sure that we know who's there. Do not get upset with us. There will be an automated call that will go out, and it's not any sort of judgment. It's a computer program that goes out, and it just helps us sort of catch those things that might get lost. So I get them myself, and I'm like, oh, what are they doing? But it's really just on their end, making sure that that information goes out. And every once in a while, we do find somebody who wasn't, supported or identified in terms of getting a note or getting a call in. So we do have an attendance policy here, and it is pretty, we call a hard policy, where those absences here, they do count. The board has created a policy that allows all of our students a little bit of wiggle room. So we need to have our kids in 85% of the classes that are offered to them in order for them to be able to get credit. So that equates to how many days they can be out of certain classes. And that's all listed in the community handbook, which you can find on the homepage. All right, I'd like to start off with our mission because for me, in my work, what I think my primary job is always to redirect us back to that mission, whether it be our students, our faculty, our staff, at times our parents, any community member working with Byram Hills, we like to have them think about this in the back of their mind as we're doing our work. It's something that I like to call sort of our anchor. And for me, the most important parts come at the very beginning and then at the very end. And that's this opening the environment of mutual respect. And I know we can go back and forth about what that means and what that looks like. For me, it's really understanding what people are all about, trying to listen without judging, and trying to make sure that we understand everybody else's viewpoints. And then what we're really trying to do at the end of the day, we want our kids to become productive and responsible citizens and leaders of the 21st century. So I know we could debate even further about what it means to be productive and responsible, and then even more about what it means to be a leader. But really, those are the important aspects for me that I like to sort of draw our work back to time and time again. So this is where I sort of start from. And just in any meeting that we have in the high school, this is what I like us all to start thinking about. And we start with this as our base. We want to thank the Board of Education. They updated this to include "and leaders" this last year. All right, so this meeting now is really about the nuts and bolts. It's not the big thinking, the big deep things. It's all about what do we do on a day-to-day basis so that when you wake up next Tuesday morning and you're getting your child ready for school, you feel like you're not going to be totally overwhelmed. At least you'll be able to picture what's going on somewhat. So they are coming to high school, and there are big differences between high school and middle school. And the biggest in my mind is really at the middle school, it's all about that team approach, where they're with their team throughout the day, and they may have kids there that they love, and they may have kids there that they might not love so much. Here at the high school, we move away from that, and we go more to the departmental structure. It really starts to focus on the academic departments more than the team structure. So they may have best friends that they might not be in any classes together in high school, but they will be able to find times to get together and do things that they enjoy. They may have best friends who they're in every class with, and they find themselves going to different social groups and making other peer choices. And that's okay. That's what we really want here. High school, in my mind, is all about that divergence, and it's all about approaching their own potential in their own way. Middle school is about developing their identities and trying to understand their place in a community, where high school is really building on that and trying to reach their potential. High school, there's also this perceived pressure that everything counts and that one little quiz as a 9th grader is going to somehow impact their ability to take a nice vacation with their family when they get to that age. And we want to make sure that we start to have those conversations about the real stress and the perceived stress that they're putting on themselves or their friends are putting on themselves. In high school, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. One test, one quiz does not impact their life at all. What we do want, though, is we want to see that growth, academic growth, and that growth in terms of their own ability to control executive functioning throughout their time here at the high school. And in order to do that, they may have to fail and slip up sometimes, and that's okay. We want that here before they go away. The school day is from 7:45 to 2:25, but I can tell you when the year is up and running, this building it's lively from 6:30 in the morning till 10:30 when we have our theater rehearsal weeks going on, athletic events going on. This building is constantly open, probably from 6:30 till 10:30. But the actual school day is 7:45 to 2:25. And here we try to look at it in terms of academics, the content areas. We want them to build that understanding, content knowledge, but we also want to help to develop those soft skills that, time and time again, researchers show are the most important qualities for success down the line. So those are having difficult conversations with teachers, being able to create their own organizational schedule, managing their own schedule, being able to look at what's on their plate and saying, that's too much for me, I'm not going to do that. Those are the things that we want to help them develop here. We also have office hours, and office hours are anybody for any content area can come in and access their teachers from 7:45 until 8:10. And if they don't need to access office hours, they can get a couple 20 minutes extra sleep, and then you can drop them off. But those office hours are really there for them to go and to ask questions, maybe to work with a group with the teacher, and it's a good way for us to start the day because they can get a little bit of reinforcement before they jump into the bulk of their work. Like I said, this is my 20th year, and whether I was in the classroom or as an AP or as a principal, there are some consistent themes that I see from students who we would deem successful. And number one is they connect with teachers and are proactive with asking for help. And I know as a 9th grader myself, there was no way that I wanted anything to do with to go to speak to any one of my teachers. Nope, I'm not going to do that. But really going over that threshold into the classroom and saying, hi, how are you? I didn't understand this. Can you help me with this? That is a critical skill that we see. Once they master that, they become much more successful. So being able to go in there and to establish a routine, that's the best way that they can feel more comfortable going in to ask for extra help. We do have extra help after school as well, which is different from office hours in that extra help would be something where you see kids going there a lot before tests and quizzes, big projects. They'll go and they'll meet with teachers then. Second thing is they know their limits and they don't bite off more than they can chew. We have so many opportunities here. We have so many great classes to take. That doesn't mean that they should take them all. It's like a huge buffet where we all know that when we go out and we eat at a buffet, you never eat the breads because it's too much, it fills you too quickly. Well, in high school, you want to do the things that really leave you hungry for more and not putting too much more on the plate. We've been lucky to partner with Challenge Success, which is an organization out of Stanford University. And they go around and they look at schools like ours that by all measures and all metrics are very successful in terms of graduation rates, college acceptances, things of that nature, AP scores. And by all of those metrics, we are extremely successful and we're very proud of it. Now they go and they look a little bit deeper into the overall student experience. And that experience looks at academic engagement, sleep, workload, parent expectations, teacher care, academic integrity, and extracurricular participation. When we look at those things, for us, we're seeing that our kids are getting on average about 6 hours and 15 minutes to 7 hours of sleep a night. The American Medical Association would say students in high school need to get about 8 to 10. And when we go back and we trace it back to why they aren't sleeping, it's because sleep is the only thing that they can really take off their plate when they're putting too much on, right? So if you're taking an extra course, an AP, that you really want to take, but it might just be a little bit too much work, well, you're not going to, here at Byram Hills, they're not going to work less. What they're going to do is sleep less. So those students who understand that and are still working to get that 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night, They come in much happier, and you can see they go through their day. It's like they're flying through the hallways. Those kids who take on too much, you can feel it dragging on them. They're not getting enough sleep, and that just resonates down the line. So help them understand what they can do, and that's as simple as making a time plan. So how are they gonna get that on their plate? Make sure that sleep stays there, and they can take it from there. That being said, those kids who are successful, they involve themselves with something outside of the classroom, whether it be theater, athletics, clubs, activities, something that they're passionate about outside of the classroom. It's a great way for them to socialize. They meet new kids, and they are also able to recharge their batteries that way. And we have over 50 clubs and activities here, and there's something for everybody. And if we don't have it, they can come and they can start that club for other kids. So that's all there for them to take. And they should, again, look at that with the same way that they're looking at their course load, making sure that they're not signing up just to sign up. We had cases where we have kids who are involved in 8 clubs, and they've only been to 1 or 2 meetings in each of those clubs because they just don't have enough time. It's not that they don't want to, they don't want to be there. They do want to be there, they just can't commit. Organized system for completing their work and their studies. So we saw this a lot, and I'm fully aware that our 9th graders coming in, their 6th grade year was thrown into all sorts of disarray on March 12, 2020. I know their 7th year was hybrid, and that was, awkward for them. And then last year as well, getting back into it, what we started to see here were kids coming in who, because it's not as difficult when you're getting up, getting out of bed, and going to your computer, everything is right there for you. However, when you're coming into school and now you have teachers who are putting up assignments, you have a Google Classroom, you have a backpack, we're seeing kids who are lacking in some of those executive functioning skills that we know they're going to need to be successful here. So being able to keep track of their work, being able to plan ahead in terms of when they're going to do their work, knowing that they have all of these other things that are coming back onto their schedule, and it's not just going to be about them in the house with their families. Those things we started to see that they had an impact here at school. And you can help by making sure you're asking them questions about the systems that they're using. And don't make it be your system that you tell them to use. Have them explain it, because they have to have a comfort level and ownership in it. And then this is one of the harder ones to do, but it's really important. It's focusing on the learning rather than the college experience, that next step. And here in our community, it's a double-edged sword. It's great because there's an expectation that everybody's going to be going away. We want that. We want them to pursue what they're passionate about. And a lot of times, for the majority of the students, that does lead to a college or university. However, they hear it. They hear it so often that sometimes it hides the fact that we are really about the learning. And you can help with this by having those discussions about the learning and not necessarily about college until it's time to have those discussions. So when you're don't ask about the grade first, ask about the learning in the class. What was something interesting that you learned today? Oh, what do you think is going to be the next thing that you'll learn in that class? What are you excited about in your content areas? As soon as you start asking about the grade, that's all they're going to be thinking that you care about. So and believe me, I understand it. You want to be able to know where they are, and you want them, you want to know sort of what you can do to help and support them, but really have those conversations about the learning before you have the conversations about the grade. All right, so in terms of every day in the building, I know as a parent, I want to know that my child is safe coming to school. And I know that no kid can learn until they feel like their safety needs are being met. So we have that pyramid sort of, and at the very bottom is safety. So as a start, every one of our exterior doors are going to be locked during the day. It's just the way it is. And we have the Raptor system. I'm sure you've used this in the middle school or Wampus or even at Coleman Hill. But we're going to ask you the first time that you're coming in during school hours to make sure you're bringing your ID. And the Raptor system goes through a national database to make sure that we're not letting anybody in who could potentially harm children. And so that's a first step for us. We have one entrance during the day, and that one entrance is going to be right at the front circle. And there's two doorways to come through in order to get into the building. We have four hall monitors who walk throughout the building and monitor those entrances throughout the day. They are basically the eyes and ears. They all have walkie-talkies, and they are in communication with us throughout the day. We also have a campus security guard. It's one of those other good and bads here at Byram Hills. We have one way in and one way out. That security guard will have eyes on every car or every vehicle that is coming on campus and leaving campus. You'll get to know that security guard when you're sitting in the lineup, either before school or after school. Also very fortunate to partner with the police department, and we have 2 school resource officers. And they are based here in the high school, and then they go out to other schools. But they're here on campus throughout the day. And if they're not here on campus, if they're at another building, we know that they can be here in less than 2 to 3 minutes, I think we timed it. We also have a security manager who looks at all of the things that are going on in terms of where we're putting our personnel and manages that along with me in terms of what we need and where we need it. We are a closed campus for many reasons, but that means that all of our seniors who are driving to school, they do not get to leave during the day to go get lunch. We don't really have many places around here. We don't want to overwhelm Nick's during the day. We have 43 minutes for them it would be 43 minutes for them to go and then come back. And we're really, it's a much safer system. We have great food services here. So we are a closed campus, which decreases the amount of people coming in and out. We do 12 drills mandatory throughout the year. A lot of times we'll do more. 4 of them are lockdown drills, and then we do evacuation drills and shelter-in-place drills. So that's really the basics of our security. I won't tell you how many cameras we have throughout the building, but I can tell you we have many, and there's rarely a time that something happens that we can't go back to figure out what really went on. All right, so I did mention Challenge Success just briefly, but it is an organization that we want to stay focused with. And just for you to know, when you're looking at your child's experience, looking at it in more than just one way is important. So you want to determine success on whether they're engaged academically, making sure that they're not just doing school, where they're not just going through the motions, but they're actually trying to learn and become passionate about something. They might want to Google something or research it later on, even though, after their homework is done. Extracurriculars, are they involved, and what's their involvement level? Are they getting enough sleep? And I know for my oldest, it's a race now where he's going to sleep a little bit later than me now, and it wasn't that way. You'll see that it changes quite a bit as well when they get to high school. Is the workload, is it sustainable? Are they able to get their work done and still have that playtime, downtime, family time? Teacher care, how are they, what are the sort of words and expressions they're using about their teachers? Does it seem like when they speak about a teacher, it seems like they feel like that teacher cares about them? And really what we've seen is there's a direct correlation between how they speak about a teacher and the workload that they feel that teacher is giving them that is over what they're capable of. So keep that in mind. It's not always that the teacher is mean to them or doing things in class that are making them feel stressed out or overwhelmed. It's a lot of times it's that teacher's connected to a course where their workload is higher than they're used to. So it might be something about looking at the course, working with the teacher to see what are they doing that might be they can get more efficient at. And a lot of times you'll hear that the comments start to get a little bit better about the teacher care. Parent expectations. Ask them what they think you are expecting of them. Have that conversation and make sure that you're really explicit about what you want and about what you really care about. And then academic integrity. When we do our surveys, in terms of looking at kids who are or who have cheated in the last 90 days, the number is upwards of 92% of our kids have done something that would indicate a lack of academic integrity. And what we see there is something where as little as, oh, what did you get on that answer, on that homework, before it's turned in, to leaving a test and saying, can you tell me what was on the test, to blatant copying answers and cheating down like that. So it's a big spectrum, but when we look at it, we see that that's really connected to the amount of stress and anxiety they feel about their academic performance. So the higher the stakes that they feel it is about the grade, the higher percentages of academic integrity issues that we see. And that's across the board in any school that you'll go to. Okay, so on day one, when they come into the building, they will be greeted by all of their senior mentors right in the front area, and there'll be big signs with their mentor's name on it. Those seniors will get them and they'll bring them to the mentor class. And that opening day, that mentor class, they will go through with them. They'll give them a tour of the building. They'll go through their schedule with them. They'll give them an idea about how they go to the cafeteria to get lunch, and they'll go through all of those things. And by the end of that first week, if you ask your child about it, they'll be rolling their eyes. I have to tell you again, but they'll know exactly where everything is in the building. They'll know their schedule, and they'll feel comfortable that they can go and eat in peace. But that mentor class meets the first period of the first semester. And it's a great way for us to, number one, give all of the ninth graders an idea about the day-to-day routines that they're going to be facing. Then it builds up to do a lot of community building, to end of the quarter, how to anticipate and prepare for what's coming up at the end of the quarter. What should they be looking for in terms of clubs? How can they manage those different things? So they do a great job that first semester of really building up that spirit, that community involvement here in the high school. So the building layout, we have an original building, which we are in right now. This was built in 1966. Then there was a 1999 edition, and then there was a 2005 edition. The way that you can think about it is that the first two hallways, the 100 and 200 hallways, they are in the original building. The 300 hallway is in the next edition, and then the new 300 and new 400 hallway are in the new one. But it basically, the hallways run parallel for the most part. And they run parallel, and there's a few crossing hallways, but you don't need to know that, they will know that, and by the time I tell you they get through the first week, they'll know where every one of their classrooms are. We do assign lockers, however, each of those lockers does not have a combination on it. So students who are bringing in their own combination locks can put their locks on any one of those lockers. Now, from time to time, if they put it on a locker that's not theirs, they'll be okay. It might be something that's right next to their friend. And that's fine, and somebody whose locker that actually is will just say, oh, and then go down a few and put their locker on. However, I know as a ninth grader coming into the building, I was a rule follower. I'd want to have my own lock, and I would be upset if somebody else's lock was on it. So in that case, they can come to us. We will clip the lock that's on there. We'll find the person whose belongings are in there, and then you have to take another trip to CVS to go get another lock. And I apologize. But for the most part, kids find, even though we list where their lockers are, kids like to go next to their friends and be on there with their friends, and that's okay. So their gym lockers as well. They will need to bring in a combination lock for their gym lockers. We are a high school. We have over 700 kids. From time to time, things get taken. And they get taken from unlocked lockers and bags that are left open. We're one of the safest schools in New York State, but that doesn't change the fact that we're still dealing with adolescents who are think of it as an opportunity. Oh, I'm going to take this, and then a lot of times they'll take it. 9 out of 10 times they actually wind up turning it back into the office, but sometimes things get taken. If people have a wallet out with money there, people will take it. So lock things up and make sure that you're telling your children to lock those things up, because I have never had something where anything has been broken into and then stolen. It's all that bags are laying out, people come by. And again, after school, we see it a little bit more. We do have teams coming in from other districts, and a lot of times they'll see an opportunity, scoop right by and pick it up. So make sure you tell them to lock their things. We'll go over the schedule, but we do have a new schedule this year. So on the schedule that you got sent, that's on the portal, you might think, oh my God, what are all these free periods in there? They're not frees. It's just that we have 8 periods, eight classes that they schedule, but we only have 5 periods in our day. So each of those days, they're going to drop a certain number of those classes. And that's why it shows up as drops on your schedule. But we do have a universal lunch, and it is 43 minutes. The biggest thing I will tell you for your 9th graders is the first couple weeks, definitely pack them a lunch, because we have a cafeteria here, great food. Aramark is our food service provider, but our school, for some reason, runs on paninis. And we have panini lines that go out the door. And kids come back from summer and all they can think about is getting their hands on a panini. But that does create a backup in the cafeteria. So I would really encourage you to send them in with a bag lunch early if you can, so that they know they can meet up with their friend. We have had in the beginning of the year, it does settle down throughout the year, but in the very beginning when kids don't know their codes yet or accounts, we get backups in the cafeteria, and a kid who's going for a panini, it could take them 20 minutes to get that panini, and you don't want that to happen. But it is great because we do have a universal lunch now. We didn't in the past, but every student can eat with every other kid in the throughout the building. So that means that if they have a friend that they're not scheduled with many of their classes, they can meet up with them at lunch and have a nice time together. We also offer intramurals during lunch, and I know as a 9th grader, I needed to kick off some steam, and that would have been a perfect way for me to do it. So that takes place in the upper gym, and we'll get that rolling within the first week. Again, clubs and activities, we do have over 50. We are going to have that club fair so that they'll know exactly when those meeting dates are and what's expected of them. It's also a great way for them to build leadership skills. So we see a lot of those clubs. A lot of them will have club officers who are, in many ways, sometimes you see it in the 10th grade. So 11th grade and 12th grade, they have opportunities for leadership opportunities in those clubs. All right, so the other thing I'll tell you is on that first day for drop-off and pickup, you want to get here. If you're not dropping off for office hours on that first day, we want all of our 9th graders to be here at 7:45 so they get an extended time for that office hours in with their mentor classes. So on day one, please make sure that your kids are here at 7:45. If they are taking the buses get them here at 7:30, so they will be here for office hours. And I will give another pitch for the bus in that we know that those buses, they never have to wait on the line for getting dropped off or during the pickup in the afternoon. So encourage your kids to get on that bus, take it, and there's a lot less problems in terms of dropping off and picking up. So on that first day, though, we do want the ninth graders here at 7:45 for those office hours. So in terms of our graduation requirements, these are the things that all of our students will need in order to graduate. So you can see, in the beginning, as a ninth grader, there's not a lot of wiggle room in terms of where they go with their electives. As a 10th grader, it starts to expand, and by the time they're in 11th and 12th graders, the majority of their schedules are really considered electives at that point because they've already met so much of their graduation requirements. So it really is about finding their pathway into their own interests. And by the time they're seniors, you can really see that it's reflected in their schedule. Now, as ninth graders, they will have mentor, which locks up one of their electives. Again, to move on in the visual arts, they need to have that studio art. So a lot of our students get that out of the way their ninth grade year. And then if they're in an ensemble, that takes up another 2 of their elective periods. So a student who is in mentor with studio art in an ensemble, there's not a lot of wiggle room. But as they keep going on, you will see that it really does start to open up. But most of our kids graduate with 4 sciences or 5, 4 math, even 4 world languages. So these are just the basic what they need to graduate. Any questions there? You'll probably see CPR on your schedule, and it'll probably be listed at 4:45. That is not at 4:45, it is done during phys ed. So you don't have to worry about getting anybody back here for the CPR course. That's embedded in phys ed, and just by virtue of our scheduling program, we needed to put a time on it or it wouldn't show up. So that's the time. It's not at, it doesn't go off at 4:45. So. All right, so here is the schedule. And just to give you a little bit of background about it, last year was the first year that it was fully implemented. We started probably about 5 years ago looking at the schedule that we had and working with Challenge Success and asking ourselves whether that schedule truly reflected our values as a learning community. Now, that other schedule had 47-minute class periods. It was meaning they were meeting 8 periods a day. They had a 25-minute lunch. There were no office hours. It was really what the kids called the hamster wheel. So we looked at it and we said, we could do better. We could make a schedule that allowed our kids to go deeper into the content, that allowed them to actually digest their food, and that allowed them to connect on a social level. I was lucky enough to shadow a number of students in the old schedule, and I can tell you, I was exhausted by the end of the day. I was wondering how these kids did it every day. Going through that old schedule, I wondered why we were putting our kids through what we were putting them through. Now this schedule, we have 64-minute class periods, which is a little longer. And I fully understand that for our younger students, that might be a longer time than they're used to. But what our teachers are really good at is differentiating their lessons and breaking it up so that it's not like what you're used to and what you think about the 64-minute college class where the professor is just lecturing that entire time. The classes are broken up. They have work, they'll do different workshops, they'll have seminars, they'll do group work, they'll do some lecture, they'll do independent work. So the teachers are getting really good at making time fly. And even now, as I go in when I'm doing observations, I can tell you that those classes do not seem like they're 64 minutes. They go by just like that. But it also does allow us to go deeper into the content. So where the old schedule allowed us to be very broad, this allows us to go much deeper. We have 4-minute passing times, which that's the time that it gets between one class to the next. Now, for our 9th graders who are going from one side of the building to the other with their big backpacks, they're hustling, and our teachers understand that. But again, 4 minutes to pass through one class to the next. The office hours are 25 minutes in length, and then we have that 43-minute community lunch. So the cycle does go, we have 8-day cycle. And in that 8-day cycle, they'll have their lab period 2 times, and then in the next 8-day cycle, they'll have that lab 1 time. And then they'll have phys ed when they don't have that lab. You don't have to understand that. Your kids will explain that to you, and then, but it will be listed on the schedule on the drop days that they do get. All right. So in our academic structure, we're very lucky that all of the chairs, they are administrators. If you have an issue that's coming up, what we really want to do is encourage the child to go and try to work that out with the teacher. And so that might mean that you have to role play the discussion with the teacher in order to get them to feel comfortable doing it. Take on the role of the teacher, have them talk to you and ask you something that might be difficult for them. And go ahead and do it. And you might have to do it 10 times. But we really want them to be able to engage with the teachers to have those difficult discussions. If that doesn't work out and you're still not feeling comfortable with it, then you can reach out to the teacher yourself. And 9 out of 10 times, the problems will get solved there. However, there are times when it might need another set of eyes, or you might want to just have somebody else looking at it. Then you can contact the department chair. And if that doesn't really feel good to you, then you can contact the assistant principal. And then from there, a lot of times, by the time it even gets to me, it's already taken care of. And I am more than happy to work with you, but I really want to make sure that everybody sort of uses the resources that they have available to them, and especially that we're putting it back on our kids so that they can really learn those skills, which are so important in life. Again, if you're not sure, something's just not sitting right with you and you don't know if it's something that you should be contacting the teacher about, Kira Hunt or Miss Wilson, the counselors, they're great resources. Chances are they've heard it all before and they can give you some good advice on it. So if it's something where you're not sure about, just go and you can bounce it off them. They might give you some good steps on that. Or you could encourage your child to go in and meet with them. Just say, you know what, you might want to go and meet with Miss Hunt or Miss Wilson on that. That might be something good. Or you might want to go and encourage them to meet with Mr. August. Mr. August, the assistant principal. Good resource for just floating different ideas. We have Chromebooks available. We do have a bring your own device policy, and we have more than enough Chromebooks if most of our kids now are coming in with their own. But if you would like to have them secure one for the year, then they can do that with us as well. We have Promethean boards in every one of the classrooms, and our teachers all utilize Google Classroom to some extent. When hopefully we don't have to, but if we have to go out on remote at all, Google Classroom will be the basis for all of the work that's being posted. And then the Google Meets will go right off of there. And then any information about that remote work that's being done will be on the teacher's Google Classroom. All right, so we do have the eSchool student parent portal. We shut it down during the day, and that's we had an instance a few years ago where it really started to ramp up. We had somebody that accessed the portal over 600 times in the school day, and it was a parent, And so what we noticed, it actually caused more anxiety when it was open during the day, because parents would be looking to see that a grade was posted before the student saw that it was posted, and then they would be texting, and it would create this tornado of anxiety and stress. So we shut it down during the day, and then we open it back up at the end of the school day. And it's a much better way to do it, we have found. It really lowers the temperature, and it really focuses the discussion between the student and the teacher when that grade is given, rather than when it's posted on the portal. All right, so we do have 2 back-to-school nights, and you're invited to attend those. You will be going through your child's schedule on that night, where it'll be listed out for you, so you'll follow that schedule. And you can come, if you have multiple children, you can come on both of those nights. We're not checking IDs at the door for your last name. If you are A through M, you can come on that night. That's usually the one that's the busiest. If you feel like you're in A through M and you don't want to be around a busy night, you can come through the N through Z too. All right, you can come to both of those nights if you want, but I don't know why not. The first one really is, it's very busy, so I do encourage anybody to go to the second night. And again, each teacher will have 10 minutes to explain their curriculum, their assessments, their grading policy, what the expectations are in class. They'll give you a good idea about what to expect throughout the year there. Again, our community handbook is a great resource. We have it connected. If you go onto the high school homepage, there'll be a link on the right-hand side. That really gives you an idea about our academic policies, any disciplinary issues, clubs and activities are there, things of that nature about the transcript. It's all listed in the community handbook. Focus newsletter, this goes out twice a month. We want to thank Media Center and Gabby and Brian Melso for putting that together to get sent out. And that's really anything that's going on in the high school that I think is neat to share with the community, or important information or upcoming events that would be good to share with the community. So that goes out twice a month, except for December and February. Then we only do it once a month. So we are using Parent Square this year. We're making a transition from Blackboard Connect. Parent Square, we're still getting used to it, so bear with us, but we feel like it's got a lot more resources, a lot more tools for us to be able to stay in communication with you. And you can go on there, and if you don't want to be bombarded with information, you can choose to get it only at one time per day. So I think you can pick at 6 o'clock, maybe that's the time when you want to get the email from school about things that are blasted out. Well, you can select that, and it'll gather them up for you and give it to you at that time. So far, I've seen from the 9th grade parents, there's only been 2 people who've selected that. So I know it's very new, and you might want to look into that. Discipline, we are a high school. We have, like I said, over 700 kids, and many of their prefrontal cortexes are not fully developed yet. So they are going to push their boundaries, and most of it is very, very age appropriate. So we have some of the same things that you had when you were in high school, and we have a lot of different things that we didn't have when we were in high school. So we are a very safe school. I'm very proud of the sort of safety record that we have here. If kids get in fights, it's usually by accident. So we usually don't see too many of them. Things I don't stand for and I will not tolerate are the fighting, drugs, or alcohol. And to the extent possible, I will approach that with the most severity that I can, because there's no place for that in high school. And if we tied it back to that mission statement, it really runs in the face of our mission statement anytime we're seeing drugs, alcohol, or fighting here. So those cell phones, I would say that the majority of the issues that we deal with in terms of discipline can be tied back to those cell phones. We have kids who cut, but here at Byram Hills, they cut because they want to come to the library to study for a test that they have coming up, not because they want to hang out with their friends. Look, we are dealing with teenagers. They will vape, they will experiment, they will try to do things that push the boundaries, and we get that, we understand that. We want to make sure that when they do that, that there's the disciplinary side of it, but then there's also the support side of it. So anytime they do mess up, we are there to make sure they know that they can't do it again, and then we're going to be there to catch them when they do fall. And so if it's something serious, we involve the counselors, we involve our social worker, we'll involve parents as well. We want to make sure that everybody understands sort of the why about what just happened and how we can get them to a place where it doesn't happen again. Another thing that I'm proud of at Byram Hills, but people probably don't know a lot about it, is our pupil personnel team. And this is a team that's made up of our guidance counselors, social worker, psychologist, director of special ed, our assistant principals, myself, our nurse, and it's really designed to catch any kid who may be experiencing issues in school for any reason. And it could be something as their hamster died, to parents are going through a divorce, to they're exhibiting severe stress, anxiety, depression, eating disorders, all of those things that could impact their ability to access the curriculum. We try to catch them through our pupil personnel team. And they come up on our radar in a number of different ways. And that's the thing that I'm most proud about, is because our faculty, staff, they have relationships with kids where they can see when something's off, they can notify counselors, they can let us know, and then we take steps to try to make sure that that student is supported as much as possible. So I know that there are things that happen that you might not want to share. What I can say is that we are as confidential as we can be, but we are always focused on just supporting the student. So if there's something going on, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we will keep it as confidential as we can. Again, the nurse, I mentioned it before, but anything coming up in terms of medical issues, don't hesitate to reach out to her. She'll have a great advice on what you can do, if it's a thing about a physical or COVID issue, or like I said, monkeypox or anything else that's going out there. You can reach out to her and she'll give you a good heads up about it. We also partner with Student Assistance, which is a organization from Westchester County, and they have a separate degree of confidentiality that we don't have. So we partner with them in cases of students who might have drug or alcohol issues that are going on or in the home. They might not want to have any involvement with the school. Student assistance counselors will work with them to give them the support that they need from outside organizations.
Yes.
All right, so again, we do have a universal lunch, so that means the teachers have lunch at the same time that the students do. They can go to the cafeteria, Bobcat Hall, the library, lecture hall, theater, the patio when it's nice out, and then even the bleachers. Intramurals, we have those. They take place in the upper gym. They can just go down there and participate. All right, so AM drop-off, that's going to be in the athletic circle. And drop-off really for us starts as early as 7 o'clock. We have parents that are dropping off. Again, just because office hours starts at 7:45, we even have students who will go to extra help before office hours, and a lot of times we'll see them getting here at 7:15, 7:20. Our buses drop off between 7:20 and 7:30, so we know that they're always here for office hours. In the afternoon, I would just ask that you delay coming to pick up your child as late as you can. Because what happens is we are a one-way in, one-way out. That line of cars starts backing up so far, And last year, early in the year, that line got to be out onto 22 and it stalled the traffic. So if you can wait until 2:25 to come and pick up, you won't have to wait on any line and you can just come and pick up your child. So we do have a line that starts to form. If you can come later, that would be better. We do keep the middle lane open because that's when the buses are going to be coming down that middle lane. All right. So that was all that I had prepared. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. I'll stick around if you have one that's just specific to your situation. But again, I'm really looking forward to having your children in the building. I can't wait to see what this year, how it unfolds for them. And again, before you know it, I'm telling you, and I'm worried about it for myself, but don't blink, because you will be bringing them to college 4 years from now, and it'll feel like it has gone so fast. Again, thank you and welcome. Go Bobcats.
Thank you.